Welcome to Salento with Love. I'm Davide Mengoli, and today I'm going to take you on a journey. And when I say a journey, it's definitely what you will describe as a journey. In the background, one of the most majestic buildings belonging to one of those families that in the 17th century was extremely powerful. So powerful that when the whole area came into a depression, they literally bought the entire area. So the castle, the palazzo, the gardens, and a lot of other areas and things in the town of Nardò, this is where we are, were owned by this noble family. Today, I'm so honored really to be able to walk the floors and the rooms of the Personè family. Now, this is also known as the Palazzo of the 100 Rooms. And as you will see probably from the drone images or from the images that Ludovica is going to show, the palazzo goes the entire block, covering the entire area. The section that we're going to see is the one directly behind me. But also, if you turn around, this is the Church of San Joseph, San Giuseppe, and this is the day of the celebration of the city. So we picked up the right day really for this video. I think it's time to go in and start exploring gently, and join me on this an amazing journey. And who knows, you could be, yes, you potentially, the owner of this journey by owning Palazzo Personè here in Nardò, Salento. Should we go in? Let's go. You've only seen a little part of what is the outside of the building, but we are surrounded by the wealth of the 17th century. So embrace yourself. I'm going to be as much as I possibly can out of the camera. So for all of you that don't like me, I'm sorry, you may have to put up with me for a little bit. For all the ones that love me, I'm going to stay out of the camera anyway, because I really want you to enjoy the space. Now, I must say this building, it's been out of use for potentially 50 years. So you may see things flaking, you may see elements that could do with a little bit of touch up just to make it look better, just for the sake of the video. But we wanted to keep things exactly as they are. So just please absorb all the elements that make of Palazzo Personè one of the most extraordinary buildings that I have personally navigated. Should we go in? Thank you for watching my videos. But if you haven't become a subscriber yet, press the subscribe button, leave a comment. We always appreciate your comments. Thank you. Well, I did say to you, this is not ordinary walkthrough. What can I say? When I enter into these buildings, which they're becoming rarer and rarer to find, and this is actually beyond rare, you cannot really stop thinking about these families and how influential they were from every aspect: the economic growth of the area, the political stability of the area, and everything, the community, and what it did for the community. And when it comes to the stability, I think the family crest says very much. And so you may have noticed a few things going through, but I would like to draw your attention to the mosaic. We are in the entrance, and at pace et bello. This is in Latin, which means in peace and in war. And in fact, you could see these two figures fighting. And how appropriate it is. We are in 2025 at the moment. This video may be online for many, many years, but we are definitely living an interesting moment in the history between peace and war. So how appropriate this family was in the balance, in the area, in the political stability of the 17th, 18th century. There was not the peace that we know today in Europe. So peace and war kind of lived together, and it was very important to reach that balance. The entire phrase, in peace and in war, I will always protect you. And isn't it amazing to see these two fighters there? Now, I would also like to draw your attention to the size and the type of the mosaic. A lot of historians have been working in this particular building with specific attention to the mosaic. We are talking about not just the crest, but hundreds of square meters as you're coming through the building with a mosaic floor. Now, can you imagine the amount of time that it took to actually make this piece by piece, almost like the Romans? It really gives an essence of how important, how noble, how wealthy this family was. And as we're still on the subject of mosaic, well, again, I would like to draw your attention to this one. A mosaic made in marble with a lion, a sign of power. So you came through and you saw the family crest, and as you start moving through these geometric forms that you see through the entire house, then you come to the lion. What was this room with this tapestry on the wall, with the red tapestry? Was it a place maybe where they played chess, where they're congregated, smoking cigars and talking about the political issues of them days, and maybe the price of oil and how the economy was affected by the price of oil and the shipment of the oil? Remember, in this area, the wealth was mainly generated by that. This family was responsible for a lot of that commerce that took place here in Salento. The dining area. Now, straight away in here, we see a different style. Well, first of all, access to a garden. Yes, this property has a ground floor, stables, storages. For the sake of the length of this video, we decided not to share the entire building because it goes on forever. But here in the dining area, you could just open your windows and being exposed to a beautiful orange grove, a garden, which you do have access from the downstairs, but also a slightly change of style. We're going from the mosaic to a cementina floor. Why is that? Well, maybe the proximity to the kitchen made them feel that this wasn't an area as grand as the rest of the building, and so for that reason they may have simplified, or maybe they just decided to get it refurbished because the cementina came so much in fashion at the turn of the century, 1920s, 1930s. And so they thought, well, we want to introduce something a little bit modern, and here we are. We have the cementine. Now, this is not the end. We've got some incredible artwork on the walls. Now, can we take it away? No, we can't. This is actually painted on the wall. Now, did you know that some of the most incredible people that lived in the 18th century came and stayed here? They were guests of the Personè family. I wonder who painted this. I wonder who painted this. Not to mention the incredible collection from furniture to ceramics and other elements that maybe, just maybe, will be part of the sale of this very rare property. Well, if they call it the Palazzo of the 100 Rooms, they had a reason. And like I said right at the beginning of the video, this is only one section, a wing of the Palazzo. In fact, from here we can overlook, if I turn around, into the other courtyard. When you look at the building from the outside, it's got two very large doors, each one opening up to a different courtyard, and this overlooks into a different courtyard. And we also have access to an entrance which it takes us into this courtyard. So this building has multiple access points. But while I'm talking, where am I? It's like I've been catapulted. I've gone from the 18th century to the 19th century, and then all of a sudden in the 20th century. What can I say about these tiles? The 20th century was something strange happened. Was it the introduction maybe of some other elements that step into our world of architecture? Maybe the ceramics came into the world of architecture, cement came into the world of architecture, glass came into the world of architecture, and, well, formica, chipboard, strange type of woods, agglomerate, all came into the construction, into the design in the 1950s and 60s and 70s. So what I'm looking at here is not a kitchen that was built in the 18th century, but isn't it grand? We have a total vaulted ceiling, but I would like to turn around and spend a few seconds talking about the same engineering that was used when the Eiffel Tower was built. And as I turn around, a state-of-the-art spiral staircase made in cast iron in a perfect spiral with the vaulted ceiling open to accommodate the spiral stairs going through. That in its own is an incredible piece of engineering. Now, you know, if you watch my channel, that I don't just go around doing videos selling properties, you know. I'm doing that. I shouldn't be doing that, but I'm doing it anyway. This is solid. This is rare. This is like, you know, stepping in and picking up something that it's so collectible as well from every aspect. So I think that legacy of not just owning a property, not just owning a building, but having access to a piece of history made up of a lot of elements that are extremely special makes us almost like the keepers of that period of time. Well, this piece of work, probably built in the 1920s or 30s, I would say it's one of those that shows how things were built back in them days, and it's definitely one of those things that should stay. Well, which room? Room number 7. Anybody there? Try room number 8. No one there. Hey, yes, I'm here. Yeah, sorry, you may want to call a servant. Or the servant, ring! Servant answers, hello, madam. And yes, this is how it happened. So many rooms. This was the action room where the servants were probably preparing the food, the breakfast, the lunch. And they could just call the different rooms just by pressing these buttons. Absolutely fantastic touch. I did say that this property has multiple access. So from a kitchen, if you look at the floor plan, from the dining area, we have a little entrance room here. Sorry, 1 second. Crazy. It's just a little thing to see, probably who's coming up the stairs. Isn't it fantastic? Yes, I was saying we do have a separate entrance here that takes us into another wing of the building that was sold a few years ago and is now been turned into private property part, which takes us into a different part of the building with another access into that courtyard. But now this is another part of the palazzo that comes all the way around into this beautiful stairwell and takes you into another courtyard. You see that little opening over there? That's the one that we just opened earlier. But have you seen that door, how grand it is? Well, this just gives you a small little hint of how big this family was. We are in the main room overlooking the road with this beautiful balcony, and these two rooms really dominate the entire house. I guess these were the rooms where they received important people, probably traveling from distant world, maybe Spain, maybe England, and this is where they were probably received. And what a better way of showing the history of their family, if not by doing this. This is Ermenegildo Personè, and this is Lucantonio Personè, and this is Antonio Carraccio Personè, and they could just go on and on and on, because the family tree here, going back to the 1300, well reconstructed, brings the entire family together. Now, this has been reproduced in this majestic, in this incredible fresco, which also shows the ability of some of these people related to the family. Probably was an artist, because together with this picture, the young Ermenegildo Personè, is got paintbrushes and a color tablet, which it really indicates that maybe he was an artist. Now here, yes, it looks a little bit messy because a lot of the items have been accumulated in this room, and as you have noticed through this video, there is an incredible amount of antiques and elements that are still scattered in the house. But what about the balcony? Should we step out? Well, as we step out here, well, first of all, this is not always here, but it is the festivity of St. Joseph, I said at the beginning, so these have been mounted. But can you see a range of balconies? Look, just from here I can see 1, 2, 3, 4 balcony, 5. And as I turn around here, we have another 1, 2, 3, 4 balconies. And the building goes all the way around. Now, this is insane to think of how powerful these people were. So you can imagine when a visitor was coming from England, from Holland, a commerce meeting had to take place in this building. You can imagine how these people were greeted, and stepping into a building like this was not different in being in the center of Paris or in the center of London. This was just incredible. From a status point of view, it was just majestic. how appropriate, a little gong to mark the end of this journey. But I think this is a journey that could take a lot longer, not just my journey, but the journey of this family, which for more than 700 years documented have been responsible for the growth of this area, for the political stability of the area, for the commerce of the area. And just thinking about the people that have actually been coming through, walked on this mosaic floor, been in these rooms, sitting in these areas, potentially sipping a tea or talking in stranger languages back in them days, just makes me feel very, very honored of being in this particular place today. Now, I must say, this is not ordinary building. I think people may have different ways of looking at building, and they go price per square meter, and they'll just go whatever it is, price per square meter to refurbish a building. But I think it comes to situations where our responsibility as keepers of the past can be transferred. And when I think of the wealth around the world and what this particular building could represent for some of you, I think this is a very rare occasion to be responsible for keeping something for future generations. Now, I won't say any more because you'll probably see me on the screen for far too long. Thank you very much for watching this video and for probably being catapulted into a period, into an era which we have lost, but is still here. We can still smell and sense and touch the essence of that period. Thank you very much for every one of you who watches the channel. If you come to Nardò, maybe you can just come and view this property. If you are thinking of purchasing a property and investing and maybe be the owner of something so incredibly beautiful, well, then you can just get in touch. The price, everybody says, Davide, you never say the price. No, of course, I'm going to tell you the price. I'm going to do it right now. Yes, you don't have to wait. Yes, you may write funny comments about me not telling you the price, but I'll tell you the price. And the price for this property, which I don't think it really reflects how grand this property is of 629,000 euros. That's the current price of the family, still Personè. So the same family that owned this building for generations is actually selling this property. Now, I also had that this property is not just what you've seen in this video, but there is a ground floor, there are rooms around the side, there is a garden, there is a roof terrace, there are rooms on the roof. It's incredibly large, and I didn't want to be here with you for more than an hour. So hopefully you've stayed long enough to watch the entire video. Thank you very much. Subscribe to the channel and comments below. And the most important thing, as I always say, stay safe wherever you are.